My name is Viktor. I'm part of the C4HANA organization. I'm leading one of the product teams over there. And what I thought we would do for you today is we'll give you a quick overview of where we are with SAP C4HANA. Most of you would know we launched the product 1.5 years ago. So there are a couple of things that we will do for those 20 minutes. We'll just give you a quick overview of the progress we've made over this 1.5 years. We'll give you an outlook of where we want to take the SAP C4HANA. Talking about SAP C4HANA is a huge challenge for us because we represent, in a way, a 5,000 people organization. So SAP C4HANA is probably the biggest investment that we have done for a long time in the company. So last year we decided that this space is a space where we want to be pretty serious about. We have 6 main product teams that are working to make this happen. And what I can do for 20 minutes is just give you some of the highlights and then point you to some of the sessions that we are running during TechEd. Einstein is believed to have said that he would spend 95% of the time he would have on a particular problem trying to understand what the problem is, and then he would need just 5% of that time to figure out what the solution of the problem is. So for me to help you understand what are some of the challenges that we are facing with C4HANA, I would take you back to 1988. I know how many basketball fans we have in the group, but this was one of the most famous slam dunk contests in the history of NBA. Usually they do it once a year in the All-Star game. And this is the 3rd time where Michael Jordan competes with Dominic Wilkins. In order to win the contest, this is his final jump. In order to win the contest, he needs the maximum score of 50, so 49 or 50. What he does is he runs in the beginning of the court, he gains speed and he jumps from the free throw line. This is 4.5 meters. For those of you in the US, it's a 15 feet distance. So I was 7 back then, and the only reasonable explanation that my brain had for how can someone do something like that was the shoes. They didn't. So the movie The White Man Can't Jump came out later. But that was the only thing that was imprinted in my brain. 30 years later, I still go back to buying the same type of shoes, believing that they make me run faster and jump higher and so on and so forth. Fast forward 30 years now, April, usually for those of you that run know that after 500-600 kilometers, it's a good idea for you to go change your shoes. It's better for your knees and so on. And this was my time to go change my shoes. So Nike had released, I have a particular brand, I have a particular size, so I got all figured out. They decided to send me a discount coupon for my birthday, super nice. I said, okay, then I'll buy the more expensive shoes. What happens is they change the design, no one tells you that they changed the design. They send me the shoes, I take them out for a run, they're too big, I can't run, I send them back. And what they tell me is I can't use the discount anymore. So here I'm like 30 years later, a loyal customer of a brand, and this is the next thing that happens. So 30 years later, you open up Amazon. I've never done this before. You open up Amazon and you see, maybe the 120 euros I'm paying for running shoes is way too much. And then you start looking at stuff. Happy end story, I went back and bought the shoes from them, but the moral of the story is it takes so many years to build customer loyalty in a particular brand, and it takes just one interaction to lose it. You heard this morning in Jürgen's keynote, the estimated amount of money that companies lose on an annual basis because they lose loyal customers is something like $1.6 trillion per year. This is the challenge we have to solve for our customers in C4. And of course, the challenge is a bit more complex than that because on one side, it's moving targets because you have 2 variables in the equation. On one side, people keep changing their expectations. So suddenly, if you think about 30 years ago, I was expecting to go in a store and just buy shoes. Now I expect the company that's doing those shoes to know how much I run, where do I run, when do I need new shoes, what's the size. I expect them to notify me if they change their designs and so on and so forth. So the expectations are obviously through the roof. And also technology has to follow and make sure that those expectations are met. Luckily for us, we're in a place where people expect whatever point in time, whenever they touch a brand, technology would support them to offer an amazing customer experience, right? If you think through the whole process of now, how am I contacting a particular brand? How do I get an email from them? Am I happy with the email? Am I not happy with the email? How am I interacting with their mobile app? How is their online shop experience going? How's the experience in the shop, in the physical store going, and so on and so forth, to the call center and things like that? At any point in time, you could lose a customer. And what we set out to do with C4HANA a year and a half ago is we said, okay, we have this amazing portfolio of solutions that span across that cycle. We have Marketing Cloud, Sales Cloud, Customer Data Cloud, Service Cloud, and Commerce. And we started bringing that together with the attempt to make it easier for customers to deliver amazing customer experiences from day one. knowing perfectly well that if you look at that, there is no customer that uses only our technology. So the problem that you guys have is way more complex than what we have in-house, right? We have those 5 products, which are a bit more than 5 if you look under the hood, but you have way more than that. So the challenge that we have set out with our product to solve for you, to help solve that together, is to make those different products that we have in our basket, to make them a consistent experience for you. And there are just a couple of things that I wanted to share with you, which are important for us. And at that point in time, again, we would take it for, in the deep dive sessions, we'll tell you a bit more what we do in that space. So just to give you a feeling, there are probably more than 10 technologies in the C4HANA stack. If you look at where those products run, they run from Amazon to Azure. We have now on Google Cloud, we have SAP data centers, we have homegrown data centers, we have technologies from ABAP to NGAP to Java to .NET and so on and so forth. We have cloud native with customer data cloud. We have a cloud native type of solution that's completely microservice architecture, and then we have the marketing cloud, which evolved from our ERP stack and so on and so forth. So for our customers to be able to do something like that, an end-to-end experience, at the moment it's cumbersome. We're trying to make it easy, but it's not so easy. So there are a couple of things that we're doing. The first and foremost, we're trying to align on a consistent data model and bring all of that data into one place, so that whenever you try now to run analytics and figure out what is happening between your marketing campaigns, how much of those leads are converting into sales, how much of those sales are then converting into returning customers and so on. We're trying to solve that. We're basically using Analytics Cloud to make sure that we give you that end-to-end visibility in what's happening in your C4HANA portfolio. So this is the space of cross analytics, and then I'll talk a bit more what we do in the space of intelligence. We are aligning on things like customer, like master services and business services. So we're trying to, if you look at the different applications, they are monoliths on themselves in most of the cases. So we are decomposing some of them and extracting microservices so that you can start using smaller pieces and you can start really having a modular experience from the suite. And I'll give you a few examples. One thing that we've been working really hard in our team was to give you a common extensibility framework. And those are the types of things that I will share with you for the next couple of minutes. Just give you a few examples. Obviously here this morning you saw the announcement of SAP Graph. C4HANA was the main driver for that thing to start existing. We're the first use case that SAP Graph is solving right now. So as I said, I'll just give you a few examples and then happy to discuss in more details after the talk. So in the modular space, there are a couple of things that we have on our radar when it comes to technology. The first thing is, as I mentioned, we're looking at those different products and we're trying to decompose them. We're trying to build like common master services that you guys can start using so you get a consistent view of your customers, of your products, of your orders and so on. That's the example that I'll share in a bit more in a couple of minutes. We're using Kubernetes to try to abstract a bit the infrastructure so that we are a bit less dependent on now where those solutions were built, and we can start giving a bit more flexibility to those of you that have a preference where those products should run. It's a lot of work in front of us. We're working hard on out-of-the-box integrations. We're using here the cloud platform integration, and we are building a lot of those iFlows that you can then use to get out some of your business process running out of the box. We have more than 100. Had a customer call this morning with a request for another probably 100. So it's a lot of work that we still have in front of us to make sure that all of the scenarios that you guys have in mind are being covered. We are here working hard on Fiori, on harmonizing the user experience. Again, you saw this morning the example that Jürgen gave with C4. We have a lot of those screens already starting to look and feel the same, and we have a lot of workflows that are happening end-to-end without the user having to know that there's the different systems in the background. And we're working really hard. We're taking that serious, the aligned security model. So there are two aspects in our space. One is how you manage security across the different products from us for your own users. So this is where we use some of our own technology with the cloud platform. And we are also taking care that you have a consistent concept in place to manage your own customers, right? So this is some of the good work that comes from the customer data cloud. One example that we have a dedicated session, and we will slowly start uncovering the first master service. So we've been hearing those requests now for a very long time that you would like to have this golden customer record where you go and see let's say the one and single source of truth of what your customers are, who are your customers, irrespective of which system they're interacting with, or whether they're talking to marketing or or commerce, or maybe even an S4 system. So right now we are close to starting to making that available for you to start using that service, and that's only the first service that we are about to launch. The second aspect I quickly want to cover is the intelligence. So what we're doing in the C4HANA space, even though we're a relatively young product, we still have tons of customers. In total, we just crossed like 6,000 customers across the suite. So there is tons of data that you have in your own systems that you're using from us that right now we could do better, we could take a better advantage of. If you just look at how many consents we have, or how many transactions do we have in Sales Cloud and Service Cloud, or how many personalized interactions we have in Marketing Cloud, all of that data is currently sitting in different systems, and there's certain level of intelligence that you can get within the context of that system, but we want to unlock the intelligence across the different parts of C4HANA. There are two aspects that we're focusing on. One is give you the embedded analytics experience that Jürgen was talking about. It's nice that finally S4HANA is there. C4HANA has been offering that for a while, but we still have a lot of work in front of us to do. So basically, giving you the chance to have insights across the entire process, so that the people that are working with our tools can make better decisions. That's the one aspect of it. Where it gets really interesting in when you start ingesting that machine learning, that intelligence into the business process. So the end user doesn't need to do anything. They just get a better recommendation when it comes to which products to offer to the customer. They get a better segmentation, and every time the customer interacts with one of your products, basically those machine learning algorithms are updated, and the applications are becoming smarter and smarter in a way. So there's tons of work. I think in total we reached now something like 30 out-of-the-box machine learning scenarios just for C4HANA. There's still tons of work in front of us to make sure that this is evolving at the speed that you guys expect us to do. And I want to spend the last 5 minutes talking about the openness of the suite, because this was one of the things that we were never going to compromise on. Just because of our history, we're coming from a history where Hybris and a few of the other acquisitions that we made, they were always open. We wanted to make sure that we maintain that DNA. So for us, it was always going to be openness in terms of using open standards, in terms of aligning the APIs that we expose to the open world, in terms of us open sourcing some of the work that we do and allowing other people to contribute to that work. And you saw this morning the focus that we have now in the extension factory. A lot of that is again driven out of the customer experience space. So a few things that our customers asked us when it comes to extensibility. On one side, they asked us to have the agility to build microservices on their own. So a lot of our history, especially if you look at commerce, a lot of our customers are still on-premise, and they have done tons of customization on that on-premise stack. And now the one thing that blocks them from migrating and taking advantage of the cloud offering is obviously all of those customizations that are currently sitting in that stack. So the one thing we started seeing now with customers and partners is they use the extension factory to build microservices and to take some of those customizations out of the core and run them side by side, and also build like cloud native architectures and start using event-driven integration patterns. Openness, as I said, for us means two things. One, we use standards. We were never going to build like a next service mesh offering or an open service proc or something like this. We are using the standard that comes from the community. We're working there closely with the Kubernetes community and so on. So this is something that we definitely want to keep. We also want to keep giving customers a choice where to run those workloads. So unlike some of the other offerings that we have here, you can just use your own infrastructure account and deploy those runtimes to the place where you want to have them. Rapid innovation, I think that comes out of the box. Very important for us was to always have a central place where whenever you build those extensions and microservices, then you can run them and secure them in one consistent way. Extension factory, a very busy slide. One thing that I hope that you can take away from that is that for once, probably in SAP's history, we agreed across, and you have to think of SAP as a 100,000 people company. So the company aligning on one consistent vision on how we do extensibility across the entire portfolio is an adventure on its own. But as you saw this morning, we are now completely behind the SAP Extension Factory as the common extensibility framework for SAP, which will basically for you as a customer now would mean whatever solution you run from us, there would be one place where you go and establish the trust and the technical integration between the systems. You synchronize the like all the security and all of that. So that will be the central management plane that will live in the context of the cloud platform itself. And from then on, we want to give you a runtime of choice depending on the knowledge, the skills that you have. We would give you a choice where to run those workloads. We have a lot of customers that are passionate about ABAP. Most of our C4 customers right now are going in the direction of Kubernetes because they want to take advantage of some of those technologies. This is where we are heavily investing. What this means now is there are a few things that are already available out of the box. What is available for C4 with the extension factory, and if you haven't looked at Kyma, our open source project that is out there now for a year, I would invite you to go do that. We are building a lot of those predefined integrations to our own portfolio. If you look at, we are looking at, right now we have out-of-box integrations with Commerce, with Service Cloud. We just released a couple of weeks back the integration with Sales Cloud, with C4C. And we already have a bunch of preview connectors. And one of the more exciting things that we also did is we came up with a concept of the so-called mocks, which basically allows you to build your extensions and microservices even if you don't have the systems up and running. So there is a mock out there that basically returns calls, and you can call a certain set of APIs and so on for you to build your extensions. We have a couple of sessions and hand-on sessions on, so lectures and hand-on sessions. We also have a demo here just outside of the theater, where we basically show you this. Right, all of that talk comes down to if you realize a business process. Imagine you have a customer that goes to your commerce shop, they buy something from you, and now you want to send them a survey. And if they give you feedback from how that experience was, you want to give them a discount for their next survey. You can imagine for the next purchase. From then on, you can imagine now adding things like a Service Cloud and asking them how happy they are and integrating with the rest of the systems. Now, in the old world, there would be like at least a handful of systems that you would have to hardwire and do point-to-point integrations. Now, if you have the extension factory in between, what you can do now is you can take advantage of all of our predefined integrations. You can listen for an event that comes out of Commerce, that's the order created event, which basically comes in our event pass, triggers a Lambda function that goes and creates an individual survey that's being emailed to the person that bought the product from you. And once you get a confirmation that they filled in the survey, then you can send them a discount code for you can create a campaign within Commerce and then send them the discount code back to, in this case we work with Slack, but you can always imagine replacing that with an email or whatever communication channel that you prefer. So all of this now you can realize with just a few simple lines of code versus what we would need to do in the past, where you have to do like point-to-point integrations between the different systems. And now you can imagine things like sending, if people are not happy with your product, opening up automatically opening up a service ticket so that someone can call the customer and understand why they're not happy. And all of that logic is sitting outside of your systems, which basically allows you to decouple the risk and make sure that you can always upgrade your systems as you need to, and then also diversify a bit your landscape and make sure you can scale accordingly. So a couple of things. As closing, as I said, there's tons of work in front of us. We're not like living in a nirvana land where we say everything is done and the suite is there and you can just go use it. There are tons of other topics that I couldn't share with you today, but we'll be super happy if you meet us outside. Basically, the team is here. We can talk about the extensibility framework, the customer master service. We have our services team here on board as well. What I hope you take away from this session is that we have a plan, we have a vision, and then we have a plan, and we'll be super happy to get your feedback and team up with you on executing that plan. So thank you for taking those 20 minutes. Enjoy the rest of TechEd, and as I said, we will meet you outside.